don't get the 2024 edition, or if you're borrowing it from somebody else, don't do that, because this is the edition that you want. You won't be able to access the homework assignments if you have a different edition. So this one is, I don't know, what color would you call that? Gray? Something? Dark gray? I don't know, they have a different color every year of these textbooks. So that's the one that you want to have. Now, you have the ebook that's included with your access, and that's fine. If you want a hard copy though, and it's completely up to you. I do think that students have found it helpful, like when you're doing the homework and stuff, to have a hard copy, but completely up to you if you want to get the hard copy. I think you can order it through the bookstore or through Connect. I guess don't ask me how much it costs. I don't know how much it costs. I don't think it's ridiculously expensive like the payroll book was, but that is an option. All right, so this is a 4-credit class, not a 3-credit class, which means there's more work involved. There's more time spent in class, obviously, but there's also more homework involved. You're expected to do more actual work. So just like the governmental accounting class, which I'm sure a lot of you have taken or are currently taking, intermediate accounting, these are more, the sophomore classes are much more intense. So just kind of be prepared for that level of intensity. Make sure you attend class. You do get points for attendance in this class. So make sure you attend. I don't anticipate having anybody having any issues with doing that. We're a small group here. It's an intimate gathering. We'll get to know each other as we go along. Although I already know several of you, most of you actually. But you guys will get to know each other if you don't already know each other as well. Make sure you stay on schedule. Like I said, this is an intense class. You have homework that's due nearly every week. So it's always due on Thursday nights by midnight, well, by 11:59 p.m. Thursday nights, so you got about a chapter every week. One exception to that is chapter 6. I'll go through kind of some of the chapters for you in a bit, and I'll tell you why chapter 6 is kind of a unique thing. But your first set of assignments, so you got just orientation stuff that's due on the 28th, which is a week from today. Simple, easy stuff. You've probably already done this orientation thing. My understanding is question 27, I guess, is missing a question. It just is showing a video. So it's the very last question. So just watch the video and be done with the assignment. That's super simple. You just get registered, do that Connect orientation. The first chapter assignments, though, are due in 2 weeks. So that'll be for chapter 1. We'll have time to go through and lecture on chapter 1 before those, obviously before those assignments are due. But make sure that you stay on schedule. All of this stuff, just like with the payroll class, this information builds on itself. So you're not going to, if you didn't do chapter 1 or get a good grip on chapter 1 and the core concepts of chapter 1, chapter 2 is going to be 4 times as hard for you. In chapter 3, you just make sure that you stay on schedule with it, okay? This involves a lot of discipline and organizational skills. Get yourself a schedule and stick with it. We do have, there's a lot of assignments. Each chapter has a smart book assignment, a homework assignment, a quiz, a tax return assignment that's in Connect, and a tax return assignment that's in our tax software, which is separate from Connect. I'm going to go through that tax software and we'll do a little tour of it in a little bit here. But that's a lot of stuff that you have for each chapter to get done. So well, I'm not going to go through all the details of all of that again. So it covers a lot of material. You got to be well organized, self-motivated, have a good work ethic in order to succeed. Let's see. So I do, just like with the, I did with the payroll class, I do record the lectures. I will post them so that you can go through them again. A lot of students have found that very helpful. Like if they're not quite understanding a concept, kind of going through those lectures one additional time can be quite helpful for them. It's not an excuse to not come to class. You're still expected to come to class. So this is not a substitute, but it's a supplement for to help with the learning. Office hours. So my office hours, yeah, I got that right. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm only teaching at Ankeny campus this semester. So my office hours are here on campus, and they're on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so same time that we meet. I have them in the morning from 8:40 until 9:40, and I would, most likely you would find me in room 1, where we had our payroll class. If that's not available, I think it'll be available, but if that's not available, you might find me in room 14. They've set up a new faculty area for visiting faculty in room 14, which is not the accounting faculty office area. It's right next door to it. Also, immediately after this class, so from 2:45 to 4:15, I also have office hours. I did find last fall, I had a lot of students who wanted to kind of stick around a little bit and ask some questions from this class. So hopefully that's, if you've got the time and you need the assistance, I'll be available for you for a little while after class. In person or virtual as well. So I turn on my computer if there are any virtual students that need help. Also, you can make an appointment if you want to make an appointment. So I was just setting, I got some issue with my Calendly link right now. So the link, if you were to click on it in here, which is not in the syllabus, but I have the website, but it's not a link. It's not showing any availability. I'm trying to figure out why that is, because I've set it up to do that. You don't need to know about me. We already know each other. Textbook, which I already showed you, 2025 edition. All right, so I do accept late assignments. I probably shouldn't. I should probably stop doing that because it's caused issues, but I do accept late assignments for a reduction in points. So homework and tax return problems in Connect, there's a 25% reduction in points if they're late. And again, it's the system is what decides if it's late, not me. So if it's 12:01 a.m., it's going to be counted as late, right? Even though it was 11:59 was the due time. The quizzes, there's a 50% reduction. So those chapter quizzes, the Learn Smart assignments, the ones I'm talking about, how they're set up is kind of weird. So chances are it's no late penalty, but sometimes there is. I shouldn't even say that. It's just weird how the system is set up on the Learn Smart. Just turn them in on time. Tax Act problems, these are the ones that we're using the Tax Act program with. That's at my discretion whether I will accept late ones or not. The thing about the Tax Act problems is I feel like that is really where a lot of the learning happens. The understanding is solidified in those problems. And so it's really important for you to stay on task with those and get those finished. So that's kind of at my discretion whether or not those will be allowed late. Again, I haven't really had that, especially with the in-person class in this subject. I really haven't had any issues with that in the past because you guys are you're serious about it. You're here because you want to learn it. Because the online, taking this class online is really hard if you don't have any tax background, especially. So I said I don't really have too much problem. What is this? Okay, so grading criteria. It's kind of complex here. So we have a total of 1,200 points. That first set of training, which you've already done it a million times, so it's going to be nothing for you. That is 5 points. Chapter homework, 12 of them, 12 chapters, 10 points each. Learn Smart modules are 5 points each. We have an exam with every, so how it's set up is it's divided into units. So like chapter 1, 2, and 3 is unit 1. At the end of every unit, you have an exam. It's a take-home exam. I guess you're doing it at home. You can use whatever materials you want on the exam. It is timed. It's an hour and a half for each of those exams. But you do it on your time. So it's just kind of like part of the weekly homework for that particular week. But each exam is for each unit. So chapters 1, 2, and 3 are unit 1. 4, 5, and 6 are unit 2. 7 and 8, unit 3. 9 and 10, unit 4. And then our last unit is chapters 14 and 15. You'll see we skip over chapters 11, 12, and 13. Chapters 14 and 15 do not have an exam associated with them. They also don't have a Tax Act problem associated with them. Those are our partnership and corporate income tax chapters. But we do have 4 exams. They're 75 points each. We also have those quizzes for each chapter. Those are 20 points. And then the tax return problems. Tax return problems are done in Connect, and I'm going to show you as well what I'm talking about with these, because right now you have no frame of reference. But they're essentially like doing a tax return by hand. So the tax return is there. You have the information on the client. You have to put the information on the tax return, but you also have to do the math, and you have to put it on in the right place. Okay? So we have 10 chapters of those. So the last 2 chapters don't have tax return problems. 10 of those at 10 points each. We also have our attendance, which is worth 40 points. Those Tax Act assignments are worth 20 points each. 10 of those. We do have a comprehensive assessment exam, so a final exam. It's going to be given on the last day of the semester on the 11th. So that's 60 points. And then we have these comprehensive problems, which are sort of like, it's like kind of like a capstone project. It involves tax return problems, those ones that are like doing the tax returns by hand, but they're on steroids a bit. So they're more complex, they're more complete. And by the time we get to the end of the semester, you'll have a good firm grip on what is required for those, okay? So, and I opened these up a good 5 or 6 weeks before the end of the semester, so you have lots of time to work on them too. And by the time it opens up, you already have the knowledge. Everything that you're gonna need, all the tools you need to complete those, you'll have them, okay? So for a total of 1,200 points. Also, so you've all been here before, DMAC has done away with finals week. Did they tell you that? Yeah, they've done away with finals week. It does not mean that you're getting out earlier. That does not mean that I'm getting out earlier. It means that we just have regular classes on that last week. So instead of having 15 weeks of classes, we have 16 weeks of classes. So that last week, we will actually meet on the Tuesday and Thursday at our regular times. Okay? So they haven't really given us a break on it. In fact, it's actually more class time because it's for this class, it's 4 hours, whereas our final would have been 2 hours of time. But that's okay. In this class, we can use the extra time, okay? Believe me. Questions about the grading criteria? Points, I use pluses and minuses. You guys are all familiar. This is just how the breakdown is. And just like with the other classes, a point is a point is a point, so nothing is weighted. There are opportunities for extra credit points as well through chapter 7. I think there's not any after that, because I encourage you to do those in the first chapters, because it'll help to reinforce a lot of those initial concepts. Missed exams. Well, this doesn't really count except for that final exam, because all the other exams that you're going to take are on your own. So there's nothing there. Just if you're going to miss that final exam, let me know ahead of time. If you can, that is what I ask. I already talked about the late assignments. I already talked about extra credit. AI. All right. So AI is really helpful, and I use it myself in doing research and helping to kind of fine-tune things. By AI, I'm talking about like ChatGPT, Grok, I don't know what all the other ones are. I don't tell you that you cannot use it. I ask you that you not just look up answers on it, because, I mean, the reason that you're here is to learn, right? Otherwise, there's no point in you taking the class, because you could just go out and look up answers. Also, it's oftentimes wrong, or at least incomplete in its answers that it spits out. So that's personal experience, that it's, not always helpful, sometimes detrimental. So anyway, we don't do a lot of writing in here. You do have one writing assignment, actually, with chapter 10. Instead of a tax act assignment, you've got a writing assignment. But most students I see are using it with, they're using it with writing assignments. So we don't really have a whole lot of that. But I'm not saying you can't use it to help to supplement your understanding, because it can certainly be helpful in that area. And one of the ways that you can do it, I gave this suggestion in the payroll class as well. Like at the end of each chapter, what you could do if you're taking notes, typing them out is probably the easiest way to do this particular exercise. So you type out all of your notes for the chapter, and you want to kind of quiz yourself on the material. Well, you could feed into the ChatGPT or whatever you're using all your notes and tell it to create a quiz for you. Give me a 20 question short answer quiz based on this information. And it'd be a great way to review for the end of the chapter, right? So just one of those ways that it could be used by students in a positive way. Let's see, anything else? This is all just okay. Questions about syllabus? I'm going to actually break this up.